Welcome back to the Bears Baseball Network, the first weekend of the 2025 season where high school and youth all playing together, and what a monster weekend it was. 5 tournament championships, a buttload of home runs, and a lot to talk about here on the Bears Baseball Network. Let's get things started. We don't talk a lot about youth prep, but a very nice weekend and a very nice start to the season for this 10U Nickerson team. A dominant championship weekend. KJ, I haven't gotten to see these guys play a whole lot. I know you have been over there during their practices. You got to catch them a little bit this weekend. What have you seen from this Nickerson team? What have you thought about their championship weekend?
Yeah, I think they were headlined by the long ball. I think they had 5 home runs in their 4 games they won, and it's kind of a full lineup effort of hitting. 3 different guys hit those home runs, so when you got multiple guys in the lineup that can go deep, I think you're set up for success.
Bernie, those home runs, Peter Rojek ×2, Blake Nickerson ×2, and Jake Eisenberg as well. Bernie, all 3 of these guys I think have been in the Bears for a while. All 3 of them I think are big-time stars in the making. But tell me about those 3 players, Bernie. Peter Rojek, Blake Nickerson, Jake Eisenberg all hitting home runs this weekend.
Yeah, I'll start with Blake. Blake is the well-known guy. He's the Nickerson. We know this is what he's going to do the entire season. Peter Rojek's always been one of the better players in that squad. I believe he bats leadoff right now. Nice to see him get some power. And then Eisenberg, man, this was a guy who played on the lower level team for a long time, a couple years back. Like you said, though, he's been here a long time. He's been working hard. It's great to see him finally get a chance with Nickerson on that top squad.
Yeah, this Nickerson team, what they do well is they pound the baseball, they pound the strike zone, and they make all the easy plays on defense. That's the 3 keys to success, and that's why the Nickerson team has been so good for so long. Bernie, a little bit of a spoiler alert here. Nickerson won their tournament. Burnstill, 15U Floyd, and 16U Floyd. Those names I think we all expect, but one team maybe we didn't expect for a tournament championship, at least this early on, is 11U Bell. A great weekend for them, 3-1 and a tournament victory. And Bernie, it was not easy. I mean, they had to really grind for these victories. A tight nail-biter in the semifinal, and then obviously a big championship win. I think they closed it out at the end in a one-run fashion as well. Bernie, this 11U Bell team, they've been working really, really hard and put together a great weekend in this one. What do you think of the 11U Bell tournament championship run?
Yeah, this team has 3 or 4 really good hitters at least on the team, if not 5, right? I think the question for this team was going to be on Sunday, who's going to pitch after Benny Wayner, who pitched really well. Ben Wlednick, I thought was a guy who stepped up in the championship game. I think he went 4 scoreless basically out there. He was great. And then obviously the big play by Zane Hall to end it all.
Yeah, Bernie, I mean, I got to see a little bit of this team this weekend. I walked up to the 11U Bell game on Saturday. I was there for like 15 minutes. And in those 15 minutes, I saw Zane Hall hit a home run, make a diving catch, and then throw out a runner at first base on a ground ball from center field. Zane Hall did it absolutely all this weekend. Bernie, this is a guy that I know you've liked for a long time. This is a guy who I think has all the potential in the world, but great to see him put it all together. What do you think about Zane Hall specifically this weekend?
Yeah, I don't think it's a crazy thing to say that he is one of the best outfielders for his age. Even though he's on the 11U Bell squad, he still catches every single ball. He goes and gets every single ball. And, I think the question was, can this guy hit? And I think he's starting to turn the corner here a little bit that this guy, can be a top-level hitter.
Very impressive weekend from 11U Bell and Zane Hall. KJ, another home run hitter from this team this weekend. Zane Hall with the first homer and Brooks Biddle with the other one. This is a guy, KJ, I know you've liked for a long time. He's been rising up the ranks very quickly in the prospect list. Brooks Biddle, a guy who really has had all the tools for a long time, just hasn't had the numbers, hasn't had the stats, hasn't had the on-field performance. We're starting to see it here in 2025. Give me your thoughts on Brooks Biddle, his first home run.
Yeah, I think Brooks has always had, the body we want. He's had the power, and I think he's finally starting to put it all together. He's hitting the ball in the air. He's swinging ruthlessly, and it's leading to a lot of success for him.
Bernie, this 13U Burnstill team, a pretty cruising weekend here, 4-0 in a tournament championship. Bernie, I mean, it was basically business as usual for this team. I thought going into it, the biggest question mark to me going into 2025 is the depth of lineup, but certainly this weekend, it was top to bottom. Everybody was hitting, scoring a bunch of runs in all 4 games. Bernie, tell me about your lineup specifically so far in 2025.
Yeah, obviously, we have the top line guys at the top of the order, but we've had some big intruders in the bottom. Chase Sullivan's had a great start to the season. J.R. Welty, since calling him up, he's been almost as good as the top guys, right? He's been very good down there. Braden Young's had a good start. Rowan Damshaw, right? A lot of these guys who have been here a while now starting to kind of figure it out and learn how to be top-level hitters.
Yeah, some guys on the pitching staff as well who have really stepped up. Connor Kennedy, first guy who comes to mind. This guy really didn't pitch much at all last year, especially not in clutch games. It was mostly in garbage time. He's been a top 5 arm for this team. He's been a guy that I believe, Bernie, maybe this isn't the case anymore, but I believe you're throwing him out there starting a GMB game on the mound. So this is a guy who's gone from not really starting pitching at all to now he's being trusted in a GMB game. So big contributions from a lot of different parts in this lineup. Very, very impressive for 13 Burnstill. KJ, no surprises here. The home run hitters for 13 Burnstill, it's Rudy Montenegro Langley ×2. Bernie, or KJ, I think the record for home runs in a season is realistic at this point. Maybe even probable at this point with the rate that Rudy Montenegro Langley is hitting home runs. 2 more for the weekend. Give me your thoughts on Rudy Montenegro Langley and his chance to be the Bears single-season home run record holder.
Yeah, he's a monster, and I think when you talk about the record, I don't think there's ever been a guy that started off this hot with the bat, hit home run-wise. The start he's off to is something I don't think I've ever seen since I've been coaching, and so I think the home run record definitely is in reach for him.
Yeah, and KJ, the other 2 guys who have been in the 20s in home runs, both of them got some weekends at Strail, got some weekends at Grand Slam on the small fields. Rudy has basically been doing all of this on big-time fields. He's got a bunch of home runs at Woodlands, home runs at Fenton City. He's been doing it wherever he's been. Very impressive so far for Rudy Montenegro Langley. He was our April-May MVP. Let's move on to 15U Floyd, a tournament championship weekend. 15U Floyd got rained out in their championship game last weekend when they made it all the way to the championship. But this weekend, they got to finish the deal. KJ, I know you got to watch a lot of this team play both of these first 2 weekends. And I think the biggest question mark has been the hitting, especially with these guys coming back from their high school teams, maybe getting out of that high school approach. But KJ, as you saw this weekend, every game, the at-bats got better and better and better. And this team was mashing by the end. What have been your thoughts on 15U Floyd so far this season?
Yeah, I think this is one of the few teams in the Bears that if the top guys aren't necessarily playing well, they can still win a game because they're so deep. You got guys coming off the bench that are legit hitters. I know they have a guy, Maxim Baraka, who wasn't even on the top team first weekend. He hit a home run for the B team. So when you got a guy who can hit the ball over the fence playing on the B team, that kind of just shows how deep that team is. And so, the bats are starting to get going. They have an amazing pitching staff. They play really good defense, and so it's all coming together.
I've always said, obviously I'm a little biased, this is my team, but I've always said I think we're the best defensive team in the Bears, and I think we arguably have the best pitching staff, but where we've never been the best has been the offense. If our offense is going, we are really unbeatable. Very, very impressive weekend for 15U Floyd. And finally, Bernie, 16U Floyd played a big-time schedule this last week. I believe they played 7 games altogether, played during the week and also in the weekend, and not only that, won their tournament altogether, Bernie. These guys are playing the scout team schedule and are doing it while winning baseball games. Bernie, I know you've had those type of weeks where you play 7 games in 5 days. This is a lot of baseball for these guys. For them to still play at a high level, it's been very, very impressive. Give me your thoughts on 16 Floyd this past week.
Yeah, to play that schedule, obviously you have to have, a really deep, not just a deep team, but a deep age. Those first 3 or 4 games, on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, they were throwing all their top dogs. And they still had, enough guys left in the rotation to get through 4 or 5 games in a weekend. Which is just incredible, right? And talking about those guys who were in the lineup, for all 6, 7 games. That's tough to do, and it shows, kind of the grit and how deep that team is.
KJ, I want to ask you about 2 6U players. First of all, a guy, when you play 7 games, you got to call up some pitchers from the bottom team to come up and start for your team. Atticus Slocum got the call. He's off to a great start for Driscoll and Latrina on the mound. Got a chance to pitch for Floyd and did a good job. This is a guy that has been in precision pitching all winter. You've worked with him a lot. What have been what you've seen from Atticus Slocum, and how do you think his performance, his first time up with the top team?
Yeah, I think for Atticus, it's the biggest change for him was trying to get more strikeouts. He's always been a consistent strike thrower, and I think it's trying to get more strikeouts now. He's got a really good curveball. He's got a good slider, so throwing his breaking balls more has really helped him a lot being consistent this year.
Yeah, so far, 27% strikeout rate, a sub 10% walk rate. He's been doing it on both sides of the ball. KJ, the other player I want to ask you about is Bruce Portell. You talk about the big-time stars for the 16 Floyd team, but at least not so much this weekend. But the first weekend, some of those stars were still playing high school ball, and Bruce Portell was thrown in there in the 4 or 5 spot, pitching big games on the mound, and he's really come up in a big way for this team, both hitting, pitching, and defense. Give me your thoughts on Bruce Portell and his transition to a bigger role for that 16 Floyd team.
Yeah, I think Bruce has embraced the bigger role, like you said. I think last year he was kind of in a low-pressure spot, a pressure where he didn't necessarily have to be that good, and he was pretty good last year. And I think it was a big question of, when now there's more pressure on him, how's he going to be? And he seems to be fully embracing it. He's, I think, even taking that extra step.
Yeah, very, very impressive stuff from 16 Floyd and Bruce Portell. We got 6 more home run hitters we haven't talked about yet. Bernie, I'm going to start with you. Jack Dalton, James Dolly, and Caden Roberts all went deep this weekend. Jack Dalton, I think, obviously the obvious one. You expect him to go deep, but maybe the other two, James Dolly and Caden Roberts, a little bit more surprising. What do you think about seeing them go deep this weekend?
Yeah, it's great to see some of those ATU Burn guys, have some success. Dolly's not a player I know a ton about. I know he's a big athletic kid. So I see him come through a little bit. And with Caden Roberts, a guy who's worked hard since he got here, man, big kid again. Could he put it all together for a season? And I think that, this first one's a good start of it.
Yeah, definitely potential is there for both of those guys. Nice to see them get off to a good start. KJ, the other three guys who homer this week and we haven't talked about yet, Landon Portell, Christian Jenkins, and Andrew Engelken. All three of these guys, at least for a fact, Jenkins and Engelken, I know were absolute bombs. I didn't see Landon's. I think that one was hit well also. But I got to see the other two. Crushed baseballs. I think all three of these guys we had high hopes for coming into the season. All three delivering right now. Give me your thoughts on Landon Portell, Christian Jenkins, and Andrew Engelken.
Yeah, I think the thing with Landon, it was kind of a weird home run. It didn't look like he necessarily got all of it, but it was probably the hardest hit home run out of those three. Maybe not the most far, but it was very hard hit, and so it just kind of shows that he didn't necessarily get all that ball, and it still went a long way, and it was hit really hard. Christian Jenkins is a guy who's worked really hard this offseason, and if we were playing on this field every game this year, he probably has 3 or 4 of these. He's missed some home runs by a couple feet so far this year, but he finally gets one. And then for Andrew Engelken, he's a guy who's been very we've kind of changed his approach to the plate. He's trying to strive more for power, sacrificing, maybe a little bit of contact to add more power, and I think that's what you saw from his stat line.
Yeah, very, very impressive for all three of these guys. A ton of home runs, a ton of championships, and we will keep on taking things down here at the Bears Baseball Network. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Bears Baseball Network. We'll talk to y'all next week.